That was a man who was an efficient builder. He had worked for years in a large company and had reached the age of retirement. His employer asked him to build one more house. It was to be his last commission. The builder took the job, but his heart was not involved. He used inferior materials, the timber was poor, and he failed to see many things that should have been clear to him had he shown even his normal interest in his work. When the house was eventually finished, his employer came to him and said, "The house is yours. Here's the key. It's a present from me." The builder immediately regretted that he had not used the best materials or engaged the most capable workers. If only he had known that the house was for him. If he had made a commitment to his craft and thought, "I'm going to give my best at all times, even if this is my last job," because that expresses who he was, he would have been more appreciative of that gift. Would you imagine that? The next thing is, live each day with integrity. Don't try to get over in life. Don't try and cheat. See, a lot of people like to try and cheat. I was with a friend of mine and we went into a service station to get some gas. They gave me back too much change. I discovered it down the road and turned around to go back. My friend said, "You're a fool." Hey man, when they don't give people enough change, do you think they flag the people down? I said, "I'm not responsible for them. I'm responsible for me." I went back and told the guy, "Excuse me, sir, you gave me a $20 bill too much." I handed it back to him. The guy just took it and walked away without even saying thank you. The guy in the car laughed and said, "I told you, you fool." I would have kept that. I said, "I'm not responsible for his attitude. I don't care if he didn't say thank you." I would still give it back because my image of myself says, "Hey, you don't take something that doesn't belong to you." That's the way my mother raised me. Don't try to cheat. You know, people think this little bit won't count, but everything counts. A lot of people have been calling me saying, "Hey man, I read about you in Ebony." Boy, you're lucky. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Here's something else for peace in your life and for working on your dream and doing your life's work. You must be patient, persistent, and positive no matter what. I called John H. Johnson for 2.5 years to get into that magazine. The first time I called him, he wouldn't talk to me. I was persistent, trying to find out who knew him, who could invite me there to meet him, or who could give me the opportunity to speak so that he could hear me. I met a guy who worked for him and said, "Hey, I'd like to speak for you guys. I just want to know, will Mr. Johnson be in the audience?" They said, "Yes." Good, I spoke and gave it my best. When I finished, he said, "Hey, young man, you're quite impressive. I'm going to have my staff do an article on you." I said, "Thank you, Mr. Johnson." I sent him information about me via Federal Express. And then nothing. I waited a month, nothing. I waited 2 months, still nothing. But I didn't give up. I kept calling every month. "Hello, how are you? May I speak to Mr. Johnson?" "I'm sorry, he's not available." "Please tell him Les Brown called. I just want to say thank you very much for the article when he puts it in." I kept calling, kept sending new articles, kept updating the information I sent him, and kept sending thank you letters. I stayed positive. I could have gotten negative and thought, why did he lie to me? Why tell me he's going to put me in the magazine and then not do it? But I stayed positive because when you're negative, you're sending out negative energy and blocking your own good. So don't send out any negative energy. Don't take it personally. I didn't care what he thought of me or if the staff thought I was a nuisance. They get paid to deal with people like me. I wanted to be in that magazine. They had a subscription base of 1.7 million people. Do you think I cared what they thought about me? No. Results don't lie. I'm in the magazine. Hello, hello. See, a lot of people have an idea or a dream and they give up on it. No, don't do that. Work your dream until it gets hot. Most things don't happen as soon as we think they should. The messenger of misery might drop in on you and say hello. Murphy's Law might come by and thump you on the head. Any number of things can happen to interrupt your flow. It's okay. Don't take it personally. Just acknowledge what's going on. It's called life, and keep working on your dream. Keep knocking because this is your life. This is what you love. This is your passion. Step back and don't judge it. If you judge it, you invest emotion in it. That emotion could be anger, and guess what? That hurts you. It doesn't hurt anybody else. One doctor said, "The man who angers me kills me." He allowed someone to egg him into an argument on the floor of a national medical convention and suffered a massive heart attack. When you're in a state of anger, you have so much acid in your blood that if they withdrew some and inserted it into a pig, it would die from the acid. So why take yourself out early by internalizing things? Shakespeare said, "Nothing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so." Judge not according to appearances, but make the right judgment. Feel that everything is going to work out for you because you're patient, persistent, and positive no matter what. Don't allow other things, people, or circumstances to determine how you will respond. I was out to dinner with some people, and we had a waitress who was quite discourteous and rude. The people around me took an attitude about it, but I've learned to observe life. To overcome life, you've got to learn how to observe it. Just stand back, watch what's going on, and choose not to buy into it. I said, "Excuse me, Mom, do you know what TIP stands for?" She said, "No." I said, "TIP stands for to ensure promptness. We've been sitting here a long time. I'm going to give you $5 up front to ensure a prompt meal. Would you assist me?" She gave me the biggest smile and said, "Of course I will." And I said, "By the way, I'm not with these people. I'm going to be sitting at another table. Please put my meal over there and serve them by themselves." See, I don't want to make anybody angry who goes behind closed doors to prepare my food. I got my food. I told the others, "If I were you, I wouldn't eat that." "Where's the manager? I want to see him." She said, "I'll get him in just a minute." I know what she did to their food. I said, "Eat that at your own risk. I don't even want you all driving me home. I don't know when that's going to take effect on you." So don't allow people or circumstances to determine how you will respond. He got some sleeping pills, took over 35 of them, and laid down, folding his hands across his chest. He said he went to sleep to die. 2 days later, much to his amazement, he woke up. He couldn't even get that right. I said, "What happened then, Tom?" He said, "An incredible thing happened." I was laying there for a moment, and a voice said to me inside my mind, "That wasn't your life to take." That was one thing he said. Since that day, whenever I face any major challenges, I don't take it on myself personally. I feel like I've got somebody with me. He said, "I'll never leave you nor forsake you." He said, "Hey," I said, "God, you've got to handle this for me. This is too much for me." He said, "I don't sweat the challenges of life because it's all small stuff." See, whatever you're worried about, if someone called you right now and said, "Listen, you've got 2 days to live," I'm telling you, you wouldn't be worried about your bills, ladies and gentlemen. You wouldn't be worried about whether or not somebody loves you or is cheating on you. So put things in perspective. Here's something else Tommy said that I think is important. He said that the voice also said to him, "If you change your ways, I'll give you far more than you ever lost." Look at your life right now. If you want to keep on getting what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. You've got to be willing to change your ways. Your life is working. If you don't like what you have produced, you're the director. You are the star. You wrote the script. You produced this. Whatever it is, if it's a hit, you produced it. If it's a flop, you produced it. Take ownership of it and decide to go back to the drawing board and rewrite the script that you're the star of. You have the power to do that. On this day, you can declare that you're going to change. As you look back on your life, you can decide that you don't like what you've produced here and you want higher ground. You want to begin to experience more love. You want to have more adventure in your life. You want something that gives your life a sense of meaning. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been selected to head up a program called Project Light in Chicago, training thousands of kids. I had the experience of our second session this past Monday, and to see these young people when they came in, and to see the young people, the parents and the community volunteers when they went out. One young man from the Cabrini Green Housing Projects, who didn't want to be there, came up and said, "I want you to know I'm so glad to be here." He said, "I'll never be the same again." He said, "Thank you, Mr. Brown. I just got to go now, but thank you, sir. I'll never be the same again." Now, here's something else, the fear of change. See, the reason I think most people fear change is that a lot of people stay in jobs where they're miserable or stay in relationships where they're miserable. Sometimes, in order to begin to see the daisies in life, you've got to be willing to change cities, change friends, change relationships, change jobs. See, after a while, you get bored doing the same old thing in the same old way, day in and day out. Human beings were designed to grow. And when you're not on a path of developing your greatness and growing and being more productive and more effective, your life literally becomes depressing. See, this psychiatrist talked about the fact that these people who had been on his couch for months and years, not being able to make decisions about things, but when they found out that they were dying, they got up and started making all kinds of decisions. They decided no longer to sell out. And you know what happened to me when I lost my job? You know what I think it was? What life said to me more or less was, Les Brown, you know you can do more than what you're not doing. Les Brown, you have sold out. Les Brown, go home, go in your drawer, pull out your check stubs and see how much you've sold your soul for. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that I'd sold out on myself at different points in my life. When you go home and look at it, if your life is not what you want it to be, if you're not living the way you want to live, if you're not experiencing what you want to experience, if it's not giving you what you want, you've got to ask yourself, what have I sold my soul for? Remember that song, 16 Tons? What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. That song is depressing, ladies and gentlemen. Many of us have sold our souls for a home in the suburbs, a brand new car, 3 meals a day, and a roof over our heads, or because we want to be popular with our friends. See, when you decide to make a change, it's challenging, but there's going to be some resistance. Not everybody is going to agree with that. There's a price to pay. Am I right? See, when I had to think about getting a divorce, it was time for me to grow. Sometimes you stay in a situation too long. Many times you say, well, I need to do it for the kids. Well, see, staying there too long can be harmful to the kids. I had a friend of mine who finally got a divorce after agonizing over it. She said, I stayed there as long as I did for the kids. She said, but if I had to do it over again, I would have left sooner because it wasn't healthy for them. And it wasn't healthy for me. Many of us stay in jobs where it's no longer good for us to be there, but because we can't see ourselves having the capacity to do more, to achieve more, and can't see life after that job, we stay there as victims, voluntary victims. Nobody's making us do it. We volunteer to be victims. We volunteer not to be in charge of our destiny. We volunteer. We willingly do it. If you're going to sell out, don't do it in a hurry. Do it slowly. Let somebody come and have to take it from you. Don't just give it up willingly. I'm thinking about a guy who had everything going for him. He went to Harvard, became a lawyer, joined a large prestigious law firm, married the perfect wife, had children, and guess. He was going through the motions day in and day out, but it wasn't giving him what he wanted out of life. He was going through the act. He was acting out a role. One day he couldn't get out of bed. He was just there in bed, unable to rise, paralyzed. They called the doctors and they examined him from head to toe, but they said there was nothing physically wrong with him. Get up, John, come on, get up, they urged, but he couldn't. He stayed like that for months. He had to take therapy because there was a disease, a conflict in his body. Many times when life calls on us to change and grow and expand, we say, no, I don't want to hear that. No. We resist that change. We resist that growth so we can go back to that lifestyle of mediocrity. We resist the change because we want to go back to sleep. Winston Churchill said, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it. Ignorance may deride it. But at the end, there it is. Carlyle said, truth crushed to earth will rise again. And we know that Scripture says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. But the truth that will set men free is the truth that men don't want to hear. See, we don't want to hear. You've got to change. You've got to take responsibility for your stuff. You've got to clean your act up. You are not your act. In a time when people are feeling a great deal of anxiety, fear, and reservation about the future, at a time when people are going to work and don't know whether or not they will have a job when they get off, not necessarily because of their performance, but because of what's happening in the economy, at a time when there are more challenges than ever before in personal relationships, we look at what's happening on the crime level and with our youth. But many times, I'm sure we've all taken time to stop and reflect. We hear what's happening in the news or read the newspapers, and we wonder, where's all of this leading to? What's going on here? So I think that now more than ever, we must begin to look at the things we can do that will put us on firm footing in life, things that will enable us to use powers that many of us go through life never discovering. Part of that, I believe, is knowing what your life's work is. What is it that gives your life a sense of meaning and purpose? Because once you find that, it puts you in your power place. See, if you know what your life's work is, I encourage you to start working on it. If you can't do it all at once, do just a little bit of it. And if you don't know what it is that you showed up to do, if you don't know why you're here, I encourage you to find out what your purpose is here. What is the meaning of your life? What will be different? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I've done that. I remember coming from a friend's funeral and reflecting on how much time I had left. I went for a walk in the park thinking about this guy whose life was so promising. He wasn't an old guy. He was quite young, in fact. And I thought about all of the things he said he was going to do, but never got a chance to do. I started thinking about my own life and how much time I had left to do the things I would like to do. At that time, I wasn't sure what my life purpose was. I wasn't sure about my life's work. I had some idea, but I wasn't convinced. I don't think I felt worthy. I didn't believe that it could be me doing the work I'm doing right now. And I say to you, if you begin to take a conscious effort to find out what it is that you're supposed to do, it can literally save your life. I was telling a group of people about a study conducted by Dr. Larry Dossey, who wrote a book called Recovering the Soul. He said that human beings are the only living species that has achieved the dubious distinction of dying or having a stroke or a heart attack on a certain day. If you ask most people, what would you say is the primary cause of why people have a heart attack or stroke? Many will say, well, because they smoke cigarettes, or because of high cholesterol, or because of stress, or because of obesity. And all of those things are contributing factors. But, ladies and gentlemen, more heart attacks take place in this country on Monday morning between 8 and 9 a.m. That's when the majority of people who have their first heart attack experience it. According to recent studies, 85% of the American public is going to jobs they hate, working on jobs that don't challenge them. They get sick just thinking about going, migraines, headaches after the Sunday afternoon football game or 60 Minutes. The anxiety begins to build, and come Monday morning, the pressure is unbearable. They drop dead of a broken heart. Some of you ought to think about not going to work on Monday. Think about that people are literally dying to go to work. Because see, when you go to a job and you already know how far you can go, you can already see that proverbial glass ceiling. It's like going to a movie where you've come in the middle and you've seen the end. You sit there, but something is missing. You know what the outcome is going to be, and you can't get excited about going through that movie all over again. Am I correct? See, when you're going someplace and you already know how much you're going to make, you already know how far you can go, you're in a dead-end position. It erodes your self-esteem. It lowers your sense of yourself. It creates inner turmoil. It creates an emptiness in you. So I say that your life is worth finding what it is you're supposed to do. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm saying find it and do just a little bit of it. When I wanted to become involved in speaking, I started by learning quotes, listening to other people's tapes, going to seminars, attending workshops, and asking others for help. I started working at it just a little bit, but you need to find what your work is. Hold on to it. And don't let your dream go. Don't let it go. Here's something else I want you to begin to look at. Why is it that most people don't pursue their dreams or don't do better than what they're doing, if they're capable of it? I think that many of us don't take the next step because we don't know what to do yet. And I say that the reason we don't even explore the possibility of what to do is because subconsciously we don't believe it can happen for us. We don't believe we deserve it. So here's what I'm suggesting. How much time do you spend working on you? How much time do you spend every day working on your dream? In the last 90 days, how many books have you read? In the last year, what new skills or knowledge have you acquired? What kind of investment have you made in yourself? As you begin to look at where you want to go, if you want to make it today, things are changing so fast that you have to literally run to stand still. I'm saying that you've got to make a conscious effort to begin working to develop yourself. Here's something: most people are not living their dreams because of fear. Ladies and gentlemen, I was in Columbus, Ohio yesterday speaking for a particular Ohio department. A young lady named Karen, who greeted me and organized the event, was very talented and very skillful. She was talking about wanting to become involved in the consulting business. I said, why aren't you doing it? I said, you have the abilities. You're not here because they like you. You're here because you're doing the job. You're making things happen. She came up with all kinds of ideas, but finally she said, I guess I can't see myself doing it. I guess I'm afraid. Fear, limited vision, and lack of self-esteem are what keep most people doing things they don't want to do. I flew from Columbus, Ohio to Denver, Colorado to a major communications company. The person who picked me up at the airport told me about the company's plan to have a major downsizing. They offered some employees early retirement, and some of them would earn as much as $300,000. They said, this is the last time you can take this offer. If you don't do it, when the downsizing happens, you might be among those who lose their jobs and get all you'll get is your severance pay. Yet only 50% of those eligible for the $300,000 took it. The others were afraid to take a chance on themselves. The others couldn't see themselves beyond that company. They couldn't see life after that company. It's the same reason people stay in relationships where they're abused, unhappy, or unfulfilled. They can't see themselves beyond that relationship. They can't see themselves enjoying life without that person. They think that this is all they can do. The same reason people get stuck at a certain level in life, they can't see things being better for them. They think that this is it, that this is all they deserve. This is all they've ever seen. It's been passed on to them, and they think this is it for them. Oh no. Dr. Blandon S. M. Wyand, who is a colleague of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, said the most subtle and seductive of all human diseases. Ladies and gentlemen, fear kills dreams. Fear kills hope. Fear puts people in the hospital. Fear can age you. Fear, ladies and gentlemen, can hold you back from doing something you know within yourself you're capable of doing. But it will paralyze you and make it seem like you're in a hypnotic spell. And I ask you a question. What is the benefit of allowing fear to hold you back? What's the benefit of giving up on yourself, of not stepping out on life and taking life on? What's the benefit for you? What's the plus in that? It's one of the things I had to ask myself. I didn't want to make any mistakes. I wanted everyone to like me. I wanted to be perfect the first time I did something. But that's not going to happen. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to hurt some folks' feelings. You're going to create some enemies whenever you decide that you want to begin to take life on. You've got to ask yourself, how long are you going to allow this to hold you back? Before Roger Bannister, no one had ever run the mile in less than 4 minutes. The Greeks used to tie runners to horses and drag them along, trying to help them do it, but they couldn't. But the day Roger Bannister ran the mile in less than 4 minutes, that month 10 other people did it. See, when you act on your dream and take the position that there's a possibility you can make it happen, you will inspire others. There are some of you who saw me growing, and now you say, wait, if Les Brown did it, I can do it too. Wait a minute, hold on. This man started out, I saw him start out. This is no fluke for him. He made a millionaire in 91. And just recently, William Morrow Publishing Agency agreed to give him $552,000 for the right to publish his book, The Courage to Live Your Dream. My goodness, whatever he's doing, I'm going to do that too. Every time I turn on the television, he's on there, the same one who started out with those little tapes held together by a rubber band at church. And today he's on national public television. It's possible. If he can go from little rubber bands at church to being on national public televisions, it's possible for me to have my dream. Look out. See, once you are defeated in your mind, ladies and gentlemen, it's all over. Once you're defeated in your mind, it's all over. You showed up with greatness in you. But most of us, because of the mindset we've been born into, and most of us, because we allow ourselves to be controlled by life, as opposed to taking charge of our lives, we're on automatic. We're just following the crowd. Can you do it? Yes. Will you have some hard times? Yes. Have you ever heard people say, look, I've done everything I can do. I'm only human. And when they say I'm only human, they're saying it from the perspective that you can only do so much. When they say I'm only human, they're saying it from the perspective that they're limited. I'm reminded of a man who, during a time when the soil in the South was depleted from the crops that were being grown, came up with an idea for the farmers. He said, listen, start planting peanuts. One, it doesn't take as much mineral from the soil to grow peanuts, and in fact, it enriches the soil. They did it. And much to their surprise, it enriched the soil and made it more fertile. He said, now, after you grow the peanuts, you can sell them. This man was hailed, recognized, and praised for his revolutionary idea. But then, after a while, when there was an abundance of peanuts, the same man who was praised was now condemned and criticized for coming up with this Essenian idea. Come on. What are we going to do? Feed our families peanuts? We can't sell all these peanuts. We can't eat all these peanuts. You were stupid for telling us this. And this man who was doing what he could with what he had felt condemned. He withdrew to his laboratory and said, Lord, what can I do to handle this situation? Sometimes you're going to have to retreat. I was there. I knew what it is to walk the floor, not knowing how you're going to make it when people no longer believe in you and you've got all you've got. And you've got to say to yourself, when you fail again and again, and they tell you no, sometimes with tears in your eyes, hey, it's possible. In spite of this, it's possible. I can make it again. When life knocks you down, sometimes you have to take 2 steps backward to go forward. It's possible. When life staggers you, the thing that'll get you up on your knees and get you standing in the center of the ring and find something from deep down inside to keep on slugging and keep on fighting is it's possible. I don't know where I'll get the strength from, but it's possible. If I just stand long enough, I can pull this off. And this man stayed in that laboratory. He said, God, give me an answer. You're going to have to ask sometimes life to give you an answer. Lead me. Tell me what to do, where to go. I need some help. I need some guidance. After staying in his laboratory, he came out, and with just the peanut, ladies and gentlemen, with Pat, he made an announcement. He said, listen, come. I've discovered 300 uses for this peanut. You can make 12 different dyes. You can make powder with it. You can make cardboard with it. I've got other uses. And he discovered over 600 uses for the sweet potato. Now, just think George Washington Carver made penicillin from a peanut. Just a peanut, ladies and gentlemen. An undynamic, unthinking, unfeeling, inanimate object. There are 300 uses that we know about. Now, just think, if that happened, then what can be done with a dynamic, thinking, feeling, creative human being? Think about your goal. Go to the store, get you a peanut, and put it someplace special. Look at that peanut every time you doubt the possibilities of your life and the uses of your life, of your genius. Just look at that peanut. I want you to look at your life, look at your dream, and say it's possible. When you're facing defeat, disappointment, it seems like life has written you off and everybody says you can't do it. You don't have what it takes. I'm not asking you to say, yes, I can do it. But see, there are too many variables in life that can happen that can enable you to pull it out. No one can say that. All you need to affirm is that in spite of this, in spite of these odds, it's possible that I can do it. Think about you, go just say it's possible. And all I want you to do every day is just say to yourself, when you feel that inner negative conversation saying you can't do it, just say it's possible. It's possible. It's possible. All of us are basically the same. The only difference between the haves and the have-nots are their habits. Warren Buffett said something I like, habits are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. If you change your habits, that's why you want to be in a community of collaborative, achievement-driven relationships. You want to be in a community with somebody who's been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt, who's on the level where you would like to be and go beyond. All of us are the same. I like to make it simple. All of us are the same. The only difference between you and your family members, you and your friends, are your habits. Your habits. Think about it. I separated myself from somebody the other day that I love because of that person's habits. Why? To try and help them, because they wouldn't help themselves. It takes energy to live the life that you want to live, and most people are not willing to change their habits. They just want to do what they want to do. There's a process to becoming successful, to releasing your greatness, to identifying your goals, and being able to work through the hoops and work through systemic racism and all the other barriers that we're aware of and not aware of. There's a process, and the ones who break through, like me, you've got to be hungry. How did you do it? Born in an abandoned building on the floor with a twin brother, don't even know your parents, labeled educable, mentally retarded. I was hungry. How did you do it? Failing in the 8th grade at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami, I was hungry. That's how I did it. You want to make it. You've got to be hungry. If there's not a name like Rockefeller or Trump behind your name, you've got to be hungry because the deck is stacked against you. Get over it. That's the way it's set up. And when you listen to Choosing Your Future, it'll give you the mind, fuel, and power. You'll get into my thinking, you'll see how I got here. You listen to Choosing Your Future, you'll see. You want to keep a social distance from poverty, social distance from hard times, social distance from being poor, social distance from living a life of mediocrity, social distance from people who are not going anywhere, social distance from people who don't want anything, social distance from people who don't have goals and dreams. Why? Because they rub off on you. This road that you want to get on, this life that you're seeking, it's uncommon. It's different. And sometimes it's lonely. I choose not to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon. If I can, I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dull by having the state look after me. I want to take the steel of utopia. I will never cower before the master, nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand direct, proud, and unafraid and face the world boldly and say, this I have done. You know why you're listening to me? Because you're uncommon. Everything I'm saying is common sense, but common sense is not common practice. You're different. Get over it. Understand that everybody's not going to get it. Reverend, I was right. The best thing to do for the poor is not be one of them. Other people who think like I think, other people who can do what I've done plus more. Why? That's just the way it is. Jesus said, all power is in my hands. Got to tell you, Les, why are you on today? Because I want to help those who want to be helped. Those who just need a way out. Those who just need a word. There was a point in my life when I said, Lord, give me a sign. I was waiting for the sheriff to come and knock on the door. Give me a sign that you're real. And the knock came. I came to the door holding the Bible, the Holy Quran, and the Kabbalah. He said, you L. Brown? I said, yes, sir. He replied, we're here to eat at you today. I said, I'm standing on his word. He said, no problem, sir. Bring the Bible, sir. Bring the Bible, the Holy Quran, and the Kabbalah, and stand on the sidewalk. Hopefully you can call some friends to help you move your furniture because we're about to set everything out. Keeping it real, as the millennials say, I'm keeping it real. I'm speaking truth to power the power of your mind. Guess what? I'm still here. Guess what? Everything I lost, I got back, plus more. And you can and will too. You listen to me and you become a part of my community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. Don't try to do this by yourself. Jesus had a posse of 12. You just have to get around the right people because people rub off on you. As I said, all of us are the same. The only thing that separates us are our habits. When I change my habits, see, poor people have habits. They do things in a certain way. Wealthy people have habits. They do things in a certain way. I studied wealthy people, and when you have a goal and a dream and you're hungry, the odds don't matter. I can't tell you the number of people who said to me, you're going to speak. Has something happened that I don't know about? What do you mean by that? Have you gone to college since I've known you? No. What about any night courses you've taken? No. You don't have any college degree at all. No. Who's going to hire you? IBM, Xerox, General Electric, McDonald's Corporation, Fortune 500 companies, churches and organizations around the world. How are you going to develop the credibility? I don't know. I'm taught, lean not unto thine own understanding. I'm taught, walk by faith and not by sight. I'm taught, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Have you ever had people tell you you're crazy because your dream is too big? Too big for who? Listen to me. Never let someone tell you what you can't do, especially if they haven't done it. They don't know you like that. Life is like an elevator. The higher you go up, you have to stop and let some people off because they don't share your vision. They're not in alignment with your purpose. In order to achieve your goals, it takes everything in you. Yeah, Williams, come forth, sir. He said, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do. If you had your life to live over again, could you have done more than what you've done thus far? This thing called life, it's serious. And right now, this is the most serious time in my lifetime being on the planet. It requires serious effort. It requires a new game plan. It requires rituals, practices, and habits that empower you, habits that will give you the breakthrough you need. You need breakthrough thinking in this period where you are. If you don't change yourself, if you don't change your mindset, you are unprepared for what you will see. You are unprepared. Why? Because the world that you become conditioned to, the world that you once lived in, the requirements are different. That world no longer exists. There's nothing normal about nothing, and we have to find a way to keep it moving, to work around it, to do what we need to do to stay alive. Don't join the crazy. You're here for a reason. You're here to do the greater work. I had to remind myself of that. And I said, what can I do to impact more people? And the computer gives me that opportunity to reach more people. Some people don't have anything, and at least I can give away something that can lift their mind, their heart, and their spirit. Because I'm here as a result of God's grace and mercy, and he didn't give me an invoice. I'm grateful. This is a special moment. You have something special. I talked to a friend of mine, Jamal. He saw me yesterday, and he said, man, I couldn't sleep last night. I saw you yesterday. It triggered something in me, and I was working all night, man. See, everybody's not going to hear your voice, and that's okay. Don't get your feelings hurt. They're not on the same page with you, and it's okay. Communicate with the people who are. If you can't have the one you love, love the one you're with. Your superpower is your calling, and your job is what you get paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. Here's something else. Not only is your dream possible, but you've got to decide it's necessary. Why? Because you're going to get some resistance. An airplane can't fly without the resistance of air. You can't learn good horsemanship by riding a tame horse. When the dream is big enough, the odds don't matter. No guts, no glory. Faith not tested can't be trusted. And so it's necessary when stuff happens that you keep the faith. Believe in miracles. Miracles still happen. But I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because you are trying to see what you are. You are the light. Get with it, and you're going to be stronger. Everything I'm looking back at in my life, every major setback I've had, when I got through it, I was stronger and better because of it. It contributed to me becoming the person that I am now. It contributed to me being able to speak to millions of people around the world. And all my friends who had more education, all my friends who had such great opinions about why I couldn't do it, my mother, Miss M. Brown, said opinions are like behinds. Everybody's got one. Listen, the things that happen for us are training, it's preparation. And I look back at all the stuff I've been through, and I'm still here. It's real. People say, no test, no testimony. That's real. It sounds cute, but you're being tested now. Don't stop. You're being tested now. Don't give up. You're being tested now. Don't give in. You're being tested now so you can have a testimony, and you don't know how strong you are until you have to become strong.